I'm Dominic Short, and this is my 2020 in the bag. Starting off, I'm going to start with putters. I currently have 3 putters in my bag right now. I have the Classic Blend Judge and a blue Classic Blend Judge. Putt with those interchangeably. And I have the Lucid Judge that I throw for upshots. It's signed by Paige Bierkes, so shout out to her and thank you. Appreciate that. But I'm definitely Team Judge all the way. It's my favorite putter of all time, and no putter comes close in my opinion. And so I have these 3, and these just interchangeably for putting, and then this one's just great for upshots. Just amazing when it comes to using things for upshots 200 feet in. I love this thing. It goes and it sits down where I need it to sit down. And I just really trust it on a little bit of hyzer, and it's just a great disc for me. Moving on to mid-ranges. I have quite a few mid-ranges in my bag right now. I carry 6 mid-ranges, and starting off I have the Suspect, and 4-speed mid-range. Some call that a putter, but to me it's more of a mid-range. I have it in the Lucid plastic. I love this thing. I had another one, but that one kind of got a little understable, so I started putting this one in the bag. A little bit more overstable, and it's great in the wind, and I just really trust it. Just throw it flat, and it just goes really low and fast, and it gets where I need it to get to. Love that thing. Then I have the Tarsus. Got this one in Winfield at a tournament recently, and this disc for me, just hold it on a little bit of hyzer, flips up the flat, and maybe goes a little right, but typically just dead straight. Just a great disc. Filled a hole that I didn't really know I needed in my bag, and it's a great disc to have. Next up, I have the Warrant. Kind of the same thing, just a little bit different of the line. For me, the Warrant, I just really trust it. Just put quite a bit of hyzer on it, let it flip up, maybe a little right, and it just holds, and it's just a great disc for me. Just works so well for the shots that I need it to work for, and I really trust it on some lines that I don't trust any other disc on. Next up, I have the Claymore. For me, one of the biggest struggles was throwing straight, and the Claymore, the Judge, and the Warrant have really fixed that problem for me. And the Claymore it's a -1-1, so it's just a super straight disc, and it might, if I put on some anhyzer, it's going to hold that. If I put on hyzer, it's going to flip up the flat, and it's going to work. And I just love this disc, and it's just been a great addition to my bag. Moving on to my more overstable stuff, the Verdict. This disc, it's pretty beefy. It's pretty brand new, so it's a pretty beefy disc. I've always tried to keep a Verdict in my bag. It's just been one of the workhorse mid-ranges for me ever since I've found one. And I can use this on some flick up shots, sometimes off the tee with a backhand, and it's just a great disc to have, and I trust it, and I know that in the wind it's not going to get eaten up like some mid-ranges do. Speaking of wind, in the wind, the Justice is the most versatile thing, and it's just the best thing to have when it comes to wind. And being from Kansas, wind is a big part of what we have here, and then being at Randall University in Moore, Oklahoma, that also, the wind in Oklahoma is just raging. And so having a disc, I don't use it a lot, but when it is really windy, I pull this out and it saves me so many strokes. And just a great disc, and I know that it's always going to come out. And if I flick, I'm not a great flick player, and I tend to turn things over, but there's no turning over the Justice. Moving on to some fairway drivers. I love to use fairway drivers. So I have the River Pro starting off, 6-speed, kind of an in-between mid-range and a fairway driver. It's just been a great addition, and I kind of use this similar to how I use an Explorer, but this is just a shorter distance Explorer for me, basically. And it's just been, it sometimes really is a workhorse on certain days, and sometimes, I just use it just for those necessities. That shot's like, okay, I don't think the Explorer, I don't want to throw the Explorer that short, but I know that the River Pro will do it. And so that's kind of what the River Pro has become for me. Next up, I have the Maverick, dyed by my friend Malachi Macias, so shout out to him for that. This disc, just put on some hyzer, let it flip with the flat, and it goes really straight. And this has just been a great disc to have in my bag, and I really enjoy using the Maverick. Moving on to the next thing in my bag is the Spark, and that for me is something that I want to be in between an Explorer and a Maverick, but it's kind of still overstable because it's pretty new. So just trying to work that one in right now and beat it up a little bit so it gets to that place. But just a great addition. Still trying to learn a little bit about this one, but so far it's been really good for me to have in my bag. Next up, I have two Explorers, and I rave about Explorers. They're just my favorite disc of all time. People they're like, oh, they're like a T-Bird, but I see them a little bit different and a little bit better than what a T-Bird could be. Just the way they feel in my hand is just great. They fit my hand so well, and I use these pretty interchangeably. But the American flag one is a little bit more beat in. Just have it a little bit longer and use it more. But these discs have just been amazing parts in my bag and what I use them for. Moving on to a Striker. This disc, probably one of the discs I've had the longest in my bag out of anything, and it's just been through some stuff with me, and it's pretty understable now. But when I got it, it was kind of like a Thunderbird, and that was the hole I was trying to kind of fill with it. But now it's just kind of at a place where I can put on some hyzer, flip up the flat, rides, and gives me a full flight. And I really enjoy that because it gets some really good distances for me. And it's probably my longest distance fairway driver if I hit it right. Then going on next, I have a Convict. This is a disc that kind of goes in and out of my bag just depending on the time, what I'm going through in disc golf. But this disc is just a great thing to have in my bag, and I just enjoy using it. And it just flies, and it's kind of like a Raider, just a slower Raider, and that's something that I really need, and it fills that spot in my bag greatly. Going on my next thing, not a great flick player at all, but when I do need to flick, it's usually for up shots or something 200 feet and in. And the Felon is just one of the best things I've ever had in my bag. It's just a utility disc, but more than that, when it comes to flicking, it's for utility. But for backhand, I can really crank on this thing, and I know that it might turn over a tiny bit just because how beat in it is, but it's always going to fade left, and it's going to go hard left, so I can trust it if I have to throw over water or anything like that. I trust this thing to come back left, and it's just been a great addition to my bag, and I love the Felon. Moving on to distance drivers, I have 3 in my bag right now. Starting off with the Enforcer. The Enforcer for me is if I'm going in a long distance hole and I see it and I have a headwind or anything like that, I'm going for the Enforcer. It's just overstable. I've had it for a while, so it's beating a little bit, and I can get a really far flight out of it. It doesn't dump on me so fast anymore, but this is just a great disc, and I love to use it. Then I have my Sheriff. This thing's pretty beat in these days, but just put on some hyzer, let it flip up the flat, maybe give me an S-line, and I can get really far distances. I got my own stamp on this one, so I really enjoy that one. And this has just been a great addition to what I do and what I try to get out of my distance drivers. Then last but not least, I have the Raider. The Raider, I got this one in February, and it's just been a great thing to have in my bag. Just so trustworthy. I know what it's going to do, and it really shows its flight. Sometimes with this, you're like, okay, maybe I don't really know what that does, or it changes in the wind. I know what the Raider's going to do when it flies. It's going to fly straight. It's going to maybe fade a little right, and then it's going to finish left. And I just really appreciate the Raider, and what it does for me in the bag. Moving on, that's all my discs, but I have a water bottle, Party Sub Disc Golf. Got this one in a tournament in Derby. Just continuously put stickers on it everywhere, and this thing keeps ice in it forever. So I really like having this water bottle. Then I have a couple minis. I got a metal mini, and then I have a Judge, because #TeamJudge. And I use the metal one more. Just the Judge is kind of for looks. Then I have a sports sack, and I just have this. Dry your hands when your hands are sweaty or they're wet or anything, and just kind of like a comfort thing if you're about to throw and you're a little nervous maybe. Then I have a Sharpie for an ace. Hopefully get one of those soon and be able to write it down. So that concludes mine in the bag.